Good morning and welcome, Patriot Radio News Hour, live on this Thursday. I'm Joe Jaquin, CEO of the Patriot Trading Group, and our toll-free number, 800-951-0592, the website at allamericangold.com, and I hope you're all having a wonderful, wonderful day. Man, we got a lot of ground to cover. All kinds of things happening. Is the rally and the 10-year note going to end today? If not, what does it mean? And so much more. We've got jobless claims numbers, and we're going to review more of what Jay Powell and Lael Bernard said yesterday. And let me tell you right now, I don't think these guys can find their backside with both their hands, if you know what I'm saying. It is a day, and if you're going to say, what day do I want to buy, I think today's one of those days. Especially if you're looking at gold. Gold's down pretty significantly, $25. You know, yesterday it was down $25 and then came all the way back and ended up not being down at all. But today, the 10-year note hitting that, you know, I told you this 150 mark. This is kind of the do or die level on the 10-year note. It got to 149. Right now it's sitting at 149. So we'll have to wait and see. Silver has just been a stud. It's not doing anything today. But we'll get to all that in a minute. I got a few announcements. Friday, March the 5th. Friday, March 5th. We are going to start a series of town hall meetings up at the radio station in Colorado, at 1360 KHNC in Colorado. Friday the 5th, shout out to Cafe Athens right there in Loveland. They are going to cater the event for us. Make sure you guys get into Cafe Athens. Let them know they're big supporters of the radio station there. So we're going to have a movie night where we have been slowly renovating the lobby of the radio station, and hopefully we'll have it all completed by this first one here on March the 5th. Jason, Bucky Dillon, they'll be providing more information on that. I think we're going to have a couple of different of our show hosts there, and all of these Friday events that we're going to start doing, a place to gather, to talk, you know, to circle the wagons. A lot of you out there get what's happening out there. And we need to be together on this, and we need to support each other, talk about ideas and what we can do and whatnot. So that the first of this series will start on March the 5th. And, of course, obviously the shopping cart, 1360khnc.com, the shop button, our the CBD products, that My Kind CBD that we use. They're one of the best when it comes to CBD, and our pricing is unmatched anywhere. And I'm hoping Ryan's working on it right now. We should have had approval yesterday. Hopefully, though, we'll get it today. We got more products. More products are going to be added. And, of course, you can get your CBD products by going online and ordering all of this to benefit the radio station and keeping the conservative message you get nowhere else, keeping it alive out there. And all of these products are available at both our Phoenix location and at the radio station. Because I know how some of you guys are. I get it. You don't like to, use the internet. Maybe you don't even have a computer. We have a lot of those customers. If you're a guy or a gal, you got the flip phone. Yeah, we feel you. We get you. You can go to either our Phoenix office or our Colorado office and pick those things up there and support the message that we bring out there. So we're pretty excited about it. It's something where, like I said, we're going to build on this and really be part of the community. I already know that Jason's already planning the next one. Shout out to the Subway in Johnstown. They're going to be sponsoring that event. They're going to be providing food for that event. The event here on March 5th, Cafe Athens. Make sure, give those guys a big shout out and let them know how much you guys appreciate them getting behind the message. But we really got to talk about something. I've been doing this a long time. And in the financial markets, you don't see this very often at all. We've got a really skyrocketing now 10-year note. I mean, you think about the move the 10-year notes made in just a week. We've gone from about 1.1% to 1.5%. I mean, really, when you think about almost a 50% move. Unprecedented, especially unprecedented in the fact that the central bank hasn't manipulated it that way, right? Usually it's the other way around. They manipulate it down. But here's what makes it so head-scratching. The dollar is getting crushed today. The dollar back below 90 now, 89.65. 89.65 on the dollar. And this is something I've been telling you, this is not normal. A rising 10-year note and no dollar right now. The dollar's almost at the lows of the year this morning. So it's a very odd situation. We've got two conflicting messages being played out here. And we're going to talk about which one of those messages is the right one and which one is the fantasy. 800-951-0592, Patriot Radio News Hour. If you're just joining us, the 10-year note. And we've been watching this. And I told you when it broke 120, and I hate being right, but it was going to 140 to 150. That was it. How do you know? How did you know that was going to happen? Because everything's traded mostly with computers. That's why I was telling today is the day. If you're especially on gold, if you're looking to add to your gold holdings, do it today. Do it today. And the reason I say that is because the computers sold gold off today, just like they did yesterday. Because they're all programmed the same way. Because we've been taught, obviously wrongly, but we've been taught by the central bank that rising rates equals a strong economy, which equals a strong dollar. Back when they used to, and again, we were taught by them, I wonder, when they rewrite all the economics books, and I don't think they are, by the way, because I think the economics books are right. But when we look at what's happening now, very predictable. They've lost control. The markets are confused. Everything's down today. And the reason why they're confused is because the 10-year note is rising, but the economy, I don't want to call the economy weak, because that would not tell the whole picture. Because truly, is the economy weak? Oh, it's weak. If you took away all the government stimulus. But we have government stimulus, so you really can't take it away. So obviously we know without the stimulus, we're dead in the water. And the bond markets are now telling us we've got trouble. Remember, this is the big bubble. I know Wall Street's a bubble. The bond market's the big bubble. Going to be very interesting to see what happens to housing if this rally continues. I don't know that it will. We'll have to see. If it breaks 150 again, we'll have to wait and see. And it's so funny thinking about how that's so high, 1.5%. But this is the dilemma that we're facing. Yesterday, we heard the central bank head, Jay Powell, tell everybody there's no inflation. Matter of fact, he tried to convince us it was the other way around. It's disinflation. He's worried because the bond market is saying BS. See, rates are rising right now. Not because the economy's strong, not because the dollar's strong. I mean, the dollar's getting hammered today. But I've been telling you, I've been on this all year. I've been telling you, this isn't right. Something's not right here. You don't have a 10-year note rise almost 50% in such a short period. And it's a little easier, in fairness, it's a little easier to rise 50% when rates are so low. And here's the other part. No one's talking about raising the Fed's funds rate. I mean, that could have been, right? If Jay Powell yesterday come out and said, hey, we're gonna start raising rates. Oh, well, okay. But he said the exact opposite. Instead, he tried to say, listen, it's an arbitrary 3 years. Right? I love that. It was brilliant. But it's going to be at least that long before inflation ever gets to 2%. What he was trying to say was, listen, we're not raising rates in 2021, 2022, 2023. Right? And that's when you saw gold rally all the way back. Yesterday, right? This morning, there is no Jay Powell talking. And the bond market is looking at actual prices. And they're calling BS. And now they're worried it's going to crush the economy. Right? When you think about the rising yields, the falling dollar, this is something we don't see very often. The markets are very confused this morning because that's not how it's supposed to work. All these computers are programmed the same way, right? The central bank used to tell us that they could create inflation and they could crush inflation. Right? And the story they love to use is Paul Volcker. Right? For those of you that are, I would say you'd probably have to be in your 60s and older to really understand it, because in, what was it, 1980, 1981, Paul Volcker, who was the Federal Reserve president of the day, you know, they credit him in the quote unquote history books for crushing inflation by raising interest rates. I think the Fed's funds rate got to like 16%. Think about where we're at today. According to them, we're between 0 and 0.25. And they used to be able to say, and you know this, you remember this. If the economy was getting too hot, what would the central bank do? Well, they would raise rates. And if the economy was getting too cold, you know, the old Goldilocks and the Three Bears, if it was too hot, they raised rates. Right? They incentivized you to save, punished you to buy. Right? At least buy on debt, right? Because you'd have to pay, if you had a home. If you wanted to buy a home with high rates, right? You had a bigger payment was bigger. Car payments, credit card payments, you get it. If the economy was too cold, they'd lower the rates. And of course, remember, this was back when rates were between 4 and 7%. Right? And that's the era I grew up in. right? When you talk about, when did I really become a productive member of society? It was the early 90s. And of course, it was, the economy's too hot. The Fed's funds rate would rise. Never really high, never anywhere close to what we saw in the 70s and the early 80s. It was too cold. They'd lower it. Maybe it'd get down to, 4% on a Fed's funds rate. And then remember after 9/11, when Alan Greenspan brought the rate to 1%. And he left it there for, I don't know, I think it was 9 months. It wasn't that long, but, and they said for a while because they still believed this nonsense. Then they said that was the cause that started the housing crisis. Most people don't remember. In August of 2007, so think about August of 2007, the housing collapse was massive here in Arizona. I mean, the housing collapse really started in Arizona in 2005. Late 2005. By the summer of 2006, it was a disaster. And how do I know this? I walked away from a $10,000 deposit on a house. That's how I know. But the Fed's funds rate, which is now at between 0 and 0.25, Ben Bernanke, it was at 5.25. Okay, 5.25. And Ben Bernanke was talking about in his 6-week meeting about raising rates. And then, of course, the onset of the financial crisis came. And rates have essentially been zero ever since. And at the same time, they've never gotten this inflation. So essentially, what they told us and what they've been telling us is we really don't know what we're doing. We've been making it up. And it worked for a while, and they're very powerful. But what I like to tell everybody, use a little common sense. We're not stupid. We can grasp very basic economic theories and really economic facts. See, the central bank wants you to believe that everything's complicated. It's not, right? Look at the tax code as an example. Nobody, right? Who in their right mind? I'd rather get a root canal than do my taxes. I don't even know what the laws are. It's too complicated. Why do you think that is? Taxes should be simple. How much did you make? And this is what you pay. Boom, done. But they like to complicate it because they like to steal and rob and cheat and steal from us. That's really what it is. At the same time, telling you we're doing it for you. But when we sit here and we look at where we're at, okay, your balance sheet. Oh, by the way, they updated their balance sheet and said, okay, you're right, Double's right. We're at $8 trillion. Well, they're saying they're not there yet, but they're going to be at $8 trillion in the next 60 days or so. That's the Fed's balance sheet, $8 trillion. We have a debt of $28 trillion. We're getting ready to add another $2 trillion to that here, like in the next couple of weeks. So let's just say $30 trillion. They're telling us that they've got all these tools in the toolkits and that the printing of money doesn't create inflation. And he's right. That is true. The printing of money doesn't necessarily create the inflation. It's when you spend the money that it creates the inflation. See? So why do you print the money? If I could take a quote from old Herm Edwards, you play to win the game. You print the money to spend it. And that's exactly what's going to happen. And we know, using our common sense, we can't close businesses and expect a good economy. We can't, week after week, month after month, just keep sending people money and creating money out of thin air. All of us understand if somebody's going to loan us money, which is what happens when people buy our treasuries, you're loaning money to the United States. Nobody's going to loan money for 10 years and get 1.5% when they know the inflation rate is 5, 6, 7, 8, 10%. They're not going to do it. That's just common sense. 800-951-0592, Patriot Radio News Hour, and we're just talking common sense. And this is why I'm telling everybody today's a great day to be adding. I'm excited. Because, again, if you want to believe in nonsense and fairy tales and unicorns and Goldilocks and the Three Little Bears, I mean, those are nice stories, but they don't exist. And right now, the central bank wants you to believe in a fairy tale. First, there's no inflation, right? Second, the printing of the money doesn't, well, he's right about the printing of the money doesn't create inflation. It's the spending that does. Right? And why do you print it? To spend it. So, you're really not being truthful, are we? And now they want you to believe that it's going to take years to get this inflation. Because here's what Jay Powell knows. Oh, we're going to keep spending. But the whole economy, all of it, is now predicated on interest rates being low. Let me give you an example. Rates, think about it. Rates have only been really going up here for what? The last 3 weeks? Like the move this week, which has been the biggest move, we went from 1.3 to 1.5. Isn't even factored in yet. But mortgage refinance applications have fallen off a cliff. They've stopped. And now the price for a home, what are we talking about? An extra $50, $100, $150 a month on a payment? And the Fed is still trying to suppress the mortgage rates. Right? They're still trying to suppress the true cost of money. Right? They don't want us to know. Think about, wouldn't it be right if we said to the Federal, stop buying the $120 billion a month, stop adding to your balance sheet? I would like to know what the real cost of money is. And we would find out almost immediately. What do you think would happen if the central bank stopped buying the $120 billion a month? What do you think would happen? What do you think would happen if the central bank stopped loaning money to your bank every day. Don't forget that's still happening. Every day, banks are going to the Fed window because they hold all this debt because the central bank has forced them to buy it. There are no real sellers of debt out there. You think anybody's buying commercial paper right now? You think anybody really, think about it. You think anybody's buying 10-year notes? But they have these auctions every day. Tens of billions, some days hundreds of billions of dollars of debt is being auctioned off. You think they're really buying it? Think about today, what happened today. Think about if you're, Germany or France or China or Japan. Think about it if you're an overseas hedge fund or if you're right here in the United States and you hold treasuries. Maybe it's your insurance company. Maybe it's your mutual fund. Maybe it's your annuity. Which, by the way, you notice how all the guarantees on all that stuff's gone way down? Way, way down. All because the Fed is manipulating the true cost of money. But how would you feel this week? You're losing money on your bonds, right? Because as yields rise, as I've explained to you, you lose money. And the dollar's falling on top of it. Now I lose again? See, that's not how it's supposed to work. It's supposed to work that bond yields rise. Okay, so I lost some money on that. Okay, I bought a 10-year note at 0.5%. And when it matured, okay, so think about this. I bought a 10-year note at 99.5% of value. So in 10 years, I'm going to get 0.5%. The 10 years runs out, but now the 10-year note's yielding 1.5%. So if you sell the bond, now the bond's only getting 98.5. So you lost the whole point. It's not great. That's not very good. And, of course, remember the real rate of inflation. Forget about that. I'm not even counting real rate of inflation. But what's supposed to happen is because it was invested in dollars, right? That was the payoff. What's the payoff? The payoff's in dollars, right? When that note matures, you get paid in dollars. What's supposed to happen is the dollar is supposed to be stronger. In other words, I should be able to buy more cheap Chinese crap than when I started. But now we've got a problem. Think about last year. You bought it at that 0.5%. The dollar was at 100. Right? Today, the dollar's at 89 and falling. So now, not only did you lose money on your bond, you didn't get that dollar rally you were supposed to get to offset the loss. And a lot of times, they actually made money because the dollar rallied more than what the bond lost. And they were still ahead. Now they look at it and they're like, wait a minute. The dollar's lost 10% of its value, and I lost. It's a double loss. I can promise you, I think I know what's going to happen next. That's what we'll talk about when I return. 800-951-0592. The Dow and the NASDAQ are both down over 250 points. The S&P is down 47. Gold's down 20. Silver is down 14 cents. 27.75. Gold's at 17.78 as everyone's trying to figure out what's happening. And it's pretty simple. We've got a lot more debt on the way. I mean, which is what? Printing money and spending it. Inflation, Ben, it sure looks like it's here, doesn't it? I mean, here, gas is $3. And I know about the last 25 cents of that's Texas, because we get a lot of our gas from Texas. But, crude oil's $63, copper's through the roof, lumber's through the roof, most of the commodities through the roof. And they're trying to think, and again, I understand. Oh, rising rates bad for gold. That's what they think. No. If it was rising rates because the economy was doing well and deficits were shrinking and, all that, then yes. Yeah, that would be true. But that's not what's happening. Are we going to have a better economy this year than last year? Yes. Is it going to be pretty significant? Yes. Is it going to be because we created trillions of dollars out of thin air? Yep. Right. Yep. Is the dollar falling? Yes. This is a big problem. This is a really big problem. This is worse than yields just rising. If it was yields just rising, that'd be one thing. Yields rising, dollar falling, that's not good. And really because most people that have common sense, and I guess, the bond market's supposed to be the common sense of the debt markets. And this is why you see the central bank always manipulate interest rates, because they're trying to pretend and get the bond market to not be able to use common sense. Because all of us right now, we all know. What should a 10-year note be yielding right now? 7%, 8%, right? At a minimum. We know that. And now we're worried about 1.5%. And understand what the yields rise do, right? They create even more debt, right? Because we got so much of it already. The rolling over of that debt is really going to be bad. Peter Schiff, and I don't always agree with Peter Schiff, but he laid it out really nicely this morning. For some reason, people are still thinking that rising interest rates are bad for both gold and silver, but they're bullish on everything else. But the reality is that's not the case. They're more bullish for gold and silver than any of these other commodities, and I agree with him. Don't be fooled. They just don't want you to be bullish. Because what the market still doesn't get, despite everything Jay Powell tried to say yesterday, man, did he say a lot. I mean, he slung the manure. The market should be able to figure this out based on what the Fed is saying. I mean, they're not being secretive about their points, right? Now, granted, his points are totally wrong, but it's not like he hit them. Right? Say what you like about Jay Powell or what you don't like about Jay Powell. Unlike his predecessors, Jay Powell speaks pretty plainly. He really, really does. The Fed is not going to raise rates. Amen. Amen. I even saw some guy, oh, no, the Fed's going to start raising by the end of 2022. Give me a break. Guys, I don't even want to mention his name because he's a clown. They may have been what the Fed did in the past, which is true. The past that's gone. but it's not going to do it again in the future because it simply cannot. In fact, here's the reality nobody wants to acknowledge. As interest rates are moving up, rather than raising rates, the Fed funds rate, and reducing the size of their quantitative easing program, which I'll get it out. What would normally happen? Oh, yeah, the economy's strong, rates are right. We're going to raise rates. We're going to back off on Q. We're going to taper. Instead, and you know what? I know this is going to happen. I'll all but guarantee it. They're not doing either. They're not raising rates, and they're not tapering. It's going to go the other way. Mark my words. The central bank is going to have to buy even more debt. And this is why I believe today's a day to buy. Because they're wrong. And why do I? It's just common sense. This little rate tantrum that we've had over the last 3 weeks, that just raised the debt another couple of $100 billion just overnight. Yeah, they're not shrinking, they're expanding. Patriot Radio News Hour, final segment coming up. 800-951-0592. I don't know, maybe some gold and silver guys are listening to the show. Silver getting ready to go positive. Well, still down 5 cents. 27.80, still down 5 cents. Gold, well off the bottom now down $16 at 17.80. The Dow and the NASDAQ now down 300 points. But I think what is happening in the bond market today isn't what it would normally have been. Instead, it's the exact opposite. This is a warning that the central bank is going to have to increase the size of their quantitative easing program. They're going to have to increase the size of that balance sheet, and I'm telling you, that's what's going to happen. And I think they're going to use Janet Yellen to help them. I think we could have a Federal Reserve balance sheet well in excess of $10 trillion. I think they're going to do everything they possibly can to get these rates back down, and I think you're going to see gold and silver like a rocket ship over the next 4 years. Yesterday, I ran a special yesterday. We had $20 gold pieces. 1 through 19 at 2100 or 2120. 20 or more at 2100. And remember, yesterday I told you I got that special when gold was right where it is right now. And then by the time I got on the air, gold had already rallied all the way back, but I kept the special. Today, I've got the exact same special, but with a wrinkle. Today, those gold pieces are all going to be AUs. Pretty much because I'm out of our regular stuff. This is all that's out there. Listen, there's nothing out there. You guys know this. I've been telling you this. But AU 20s today, because even if you only can get one, take advantage of this pullback. It will not last. It's not what it is. Right now, the Jay Powell, if this was what it was supposed to be, Jay Powell yesterday would have told you, yep, we see inflation coming. We're going to start tapering, and we're going to start talking about raising rates. Instead, what did he say? It's an arbitrary 3 years. Whatever we say, we've got plenty of tools, no inflation anywhere to be found, and the economy needs lots of money. That's what he said. Understand it, realize it, take advantage of it. 800-951-0592. AU $20 gold pieces, 1 through 19, 2120, 20 or more at 2100. Junk silver, it's getting skinny, but we still got product. We still got some halves, we got quarters, we got dimes, and they're all on sale as well. 800-951 0592. Quick look here. I'll just check that 10-year note one last time. 10-year note, okay, we got up to 149. Right now it's at 147. The Dow's down 300. The S&P's down 55. The Nasdaq's down 280. And gold is down about right now about $18, $17.78. Silver down about 5 cents at $27.80. Oh, one thing is higher today. I guess I lied to you about that. Crude oil. Yeah. 63.5 now on crude oil. Patriot Radio News Hour. Really crazy day. God bless everybody. We'll be back tomorrow.